Thank you. Really glad to see people from different countries. I have to, Mariam already introduced me. So I'm here today. Actually, I have to say that I'm not a security analyst like by profession, but obviously information security, data security is a huge part of my job, and also I've been involved in it since almost 10 years now. Just told to my colleagues several days ago that actually when I was in the university and I started, and it was nothing to do with civil rights activism or anything, I also had research on how nuclear security plants experience information breaks and data breaks and breaches and anything like this. So yeah, it has been almost 10 years since I started being interested in this topic, 10 years now, actually. So I have to tell you that at the moment, I'm working with the Russian, meaning that for Russian diaspora probably now, organization, Teplitsa for social technologies for social goodness, and we help to activists, to journalists, to NGOs to introduce technologies to their work. And we also help with information security. So if anyone is from some Russian diaspora, any kind of community, not exactly NGOs, they can write to Teplitsa. I will show the address, not the email, but the URL later. So I have 25 minutes. I have some slides, and I will obviously share these slides afterwards in the DataFest Slack. And I also have my email written, so you can write me any questions considering any journalistic job, any activism, anything. I speak several languages, so yeah, I think we will find a common language here. I will share my slides now. Yeah, and I will share them because they have lots of links. So I will share them afterwards in the DataFest Slack and with the organizers. And also I work with journalists, specifically for for several months, the last several months, I work with the Insider. And when I was preparing for this presentation, actually, we decided to make a huge information security and probably some physical security for journalists and activists nowadays. And I think we'll spend like a couple of months, but we will make probably to write in the chat, and you can ask them, or not write in the chat, and you can ask them afterwards. I will leave some 5 to 7 minutes, and Mariam, please tell me when I will be left 5 to 7 minutes, so we are in our schedule. Right. I have 4 parts of my presentation, and the first one is risk assessment, and I have to focus your attention that this is the most significant one, because it's not like anywhere, like in any kind of journalism, activism, it's not always the tools, but it is your mindset, which is the most important to you. And in any kind of security, in cybersecurity or in any other kind of security, risk assessment is the most essential part, and you have to think mostly about this. You don't have to think mostly about the tools that you use, but you have to think about the risks that you have. Later, I will talk about some tools, and I will cover some like fields where and how you shall protect your data and communication. I had to make a disclaimer after I talked with my colleagues that these scenarios and tools that I will talk about today are more or less universal for people in different countries, because we have some things that are very specific today, for example, for Russia, for Ukraine, and I will not cover them a lot because they are quite a bit specific and because it will take much more time than I have today. But if you're interested in some specific scenarios that you or your colleagues or some friend activists or your family that you may face, you can contact me through email and we can think together about them. And also, I want to announce that Teplitsa will hold an online course on cybersecurity, which will be in Russian, but you can register through the link. If you know Russian, if you want to participate, you can register and participate in this course with very qualified, high qualified trainers. And any questions that you might want to ask, you can ask there. So first, and the most important part, is a risk assessment plan that you have to think of when you think about your cybersecurity. I have mentioned here 4 most important questions, but obviously there are more questions when you think about your security or specifically cybersecurity. But these 4 questions I consider to be the most important ones. First thing, you have to ask yourself, what do I have that is worth protecting? Actually, I told you that I will read questions later in the chat, but I strongly encourage you to participate in voice. Mariam, please tell me, are participants available? I didn't ask you in advance. Are participants available to ask questions or to tell something like vocally?
We only use chat to send.
They can only use chat. Oh, I had to ask you in advance. Sorry. Okay. Okay, never mind. Okay, here's chat.
It is very important for your presentation. Nino wrote that we can change some settings. Do you do so?
Well, yeah, because I prefer to speak to people, like for everyone to participate. But anyway, okay. If you want to, you can write in chat. I opened the chat and I can read it. So please now write in chat. In terms of information security, what can be things that are worth protecting that you might have as a journalist or as an activist or as a data researcher or as someone? I don't know, it will be better with voice. Anyway. Yeah, I didn't ask you in advance. Sorry about that. Okay, let us be without chat. But I will share this presentation, and I strongly encourage you to think always, all the time about these questions. Second thing you have to ask yourself is, how bad will the consequence be if I fail to protect this very thing, this kind of treasure that I have? You have to think about consequences, because depending on what consequences do you have or you might think of, depends on how much effort shall you bring to protect this thing. Then you obviously have to ask yourself, who do I want to protect my thing, my data, my treasure from? And then you obviously have to ask yourself, how much effort can I give to prevent those consequences? Because you cannot invest everything that you have into protecting something from some bad people or bad companies. Here are some examples of what can you think of, but this list is not like exceptional. You can think of other things too. Some examples of what you can have that is worth protecting. And when we speak about activists, NGOs, journalists, obviously it's emails, texts or files that you have in your emails, and you can think of lots of situations that happen to different politicians, that happened to different activists when their emails leaked, and what people became aware of, or how they could use it against them. You have to protect, and I insist on it, your contact lists, because, and that is why I'm strongly against applications like GetContact or any other of them, because when you use them, you leak your contact list to the application. That's how they work. And yeah, Nino said that whoever wants to unmute and join are now possible. So yeah, I can ask you questions and you can join in voice vocally. So I strongly encourage you to do it. You have to protect your contact lists because lots of actually journalistic investigations happened because someone contact lists were leaked. For example, in Russia, lots of investigations made by the Insider and the Bellingcat happened. Some of their parts happened because, and by BBC too, because someone leaked contacts of FSB officers, of FSB scientists, of FSB hackers to some applications that share your contact list with other people, and their names are written like Ivan Ivanov, who is an FSB officer who, I don't know, works with poisons, something like this. And it's ridiculous, but it actually happened. So you have to protect your contact lists. You have to protect your instant messages, and I'm speaking about any kind of messenger that you might use. Because obviously you write some operational information in your instant messages, and you can share some files, you can share some photos, and depending on what team you're working on, you can not only make your data unprotected, but you can make some other people's personal data or location data or anything unprotected. You have to think about your location or any other metadata that your files, that your phone, like your cell phone, holds, and sometimes you need to keep your location and any other thing, like which computer do you use, which phone do you use, very protected, because, for example, if you are under surveillance and you don't want people to know where you are, you obviously have to protect your files, any files that you create, any files that are shared with you. I don't think it's like worth mentioning. Sometimes you have to protect your browser and app history. That is very specific thing actually now in Russia, because when activists and journalists, politicians come to Russia or leave Russia, and this is very important now for people who live or who stay on occupied territories of the Ukraine, because military or FSB officers or custom officers might check your phone and might see your browser and app history and make something to you because of this browser or app history. And you have to protect your devices. I also think that is not kind of worth mentioning. Here's a question, and I want you to join vocally. Like some just first thing that comes to your mind, what do you have that is worth protecting when you think about your smartphone, like your cell phone, like the device itself? What is worth protecting? Please join vocally and tell me.
Location.
Location, okay.
My messaging with my friends about what I think of the war, and which is like discreditizing Russian army every time I write.
So this is instant messaging, right?
Instant messaging, yes, it's not emailing, it's like in messaging and everything.
Okay, messengers. So you have some data there. Anything else?
Photos.
Okay.
Passwords to other applications?
Yes, that is what I wanted to hear. your smartphone is not just every application which you installed in it, like separate, because in your smartphone, you can hold lots of passwords and lots of like data that connects your identity, your account to the other. And that's why it is very, very, like your smartphone is like a key to all your digital identity that you have online or offline too. It's not just your separate location or your separate photo of you, separate photo of someone, your separate file that was shared with you, but it's all like it's a key to all your identities. It might be. So you have to think a lot of your smartphone in terms of what is your smartphone in your like digital security scenarios. Now I want you to start thinking about your digital security, not in terms like, have I installed VPN? Have I installed some virus protection? But I want you to think about all the scenarios that can happen. Obviously, it is much more effort than just installing VPN, but that is how it should be. And another question, what do I have that is worth protecting in my email box? And again, I want you to join vocally. Anyone? Okay. I don't know, you're shy, or you don't know what to say, or you don't have emails?
Maybe verification emails?
What kind of verification emails?
Like I could access other platforms if I sent a verification to my email, like reset my password somewhere else.
Password reset. So yeah, since in many services, in many applications, some password reset, some other kind of things. And since that, another very key to your digital identity is your email. And that is why also when you think about your security scenarios, always think a lot about what your email can bring someone to. And I do not mention, I have to say that in this my speech, I do not mention the very important thing, how your nickname, for example, a nickname that you use in your email address or anywhere else, how it can become a key to your digital identity. Since I just have very little time today, I don't mention it, but it obviously is worth mentioning, and we can speak about, if someone is interested, we can like, I don't know, make another meeting, I'll speak about it later, a networking session. So yeah, think about these two things as key things, but obviously you can have on hand some other key things to your digital security. Now, I want you to think about who do you want to protect your data from, or who do you want to protect your devices from, devices which can become a key to your digital identity. And obviously here, because of the audience that we have today, we have to think about government officials, because many of us are from the countries which are not so democratic, or we might do some kind of things that oppose the government. We can think in some of the countries that today participants are from today about law enforcement agencies, about, unfortunately, military aggressors, but we have to think about them. And as it was like in more peaceful times, it's hackers, competitors to our companies, or some corporations. But that was always. Now, how bad? So yeah, since in many services, in many applications, you register with your, or in many social networks too, you register with your email. Your email is not just your email box, and obviously most of us don't use email a lot to send and to receive just like messages from people, but we receive messages from platforms, we receive messages from companies, and yeah, we receive some password reset, some other kind of things. And since that, another very key to your digital identity is your email. And that is why also when you think about your security scenarios, always think a lot about what your email can bring someone to. And I do not mention, I have to say that in this my speech, I do not mention the very important thing, how your nickname, for example, a nickname that you use in your email address or anywhere else, how it can become a key to your digital identity. Since I just have very little time today, I don't mention it, but it obviously is worth mentioning, and we can speak about, if someone is interested, we can like, I don't know, make another meeting, I'll speak about it later, a networking session. So yeah, think about these two things as key things, but obviously you can have on hand some other key things to your digital security. Now, I want you to think about who do you want to protect your data from, or who do you want to protect your devices from, devices which can become a key to your digital identity. And obviously here, because of the audience that we have today, we have to think about government officials, because many of us are from the countries which are not so democratic, or we might do some kind of things that oppose the government. We can think in some of the countries that today participants are from today about law enforcement agencies, about, unfortunately, military aggressors, but we have to think about them. And as it was like in more peaceful times, it's hackers, competitors to our companies, or some corporations. But that was always. Now, how bad can the consequences be if I fail? And I mentioned here 4 things, but you can think of a lot more things if you think about it long enough. First and most critical one is injury, physical injury or death of you, of your beloved ones, or your family, of your partner, or someone. Hope it never happens, but we know that sometimes it does. Then the consequences can be the jail for you, or for someone else, for your sources, or for someone. Then your reputation. For example, remember that a long time ago thing about Hillary Clinton and how or about some politicians from the countries, if their emails were leaked, how sometimes their reputation is gone after their emails are leaked. And you can lose your money. That is also a classical thing, but I just have to mention because it happens. And then how much effort can I do? How much effort can I invest into preventing these consequences? Here I mentioned those 3 basic things. You can have some financial constraints. For example, you, your company, or your NGO, or your news desk do not want to spend lots of money, don't have such money. You can have some technical constraints. For example, you don't have these technical specialists. You don't know how to do it. You don't know who to ask questions. You just don't have time or anything. Or you have some social constraints, but that depends on from person to person, or from company to company, from NGO to NGO. Here I have 3 cases, and I will check my time now. Yeah, I have very few time, so I will just leave them. I will share this presentation with you, and I have these 3 cases. For those who are interested in thinking about different scenarios, I just leave them, so you can like draw, make a sheet of, take a sheet of paper and draw everything and think about these 3 cases in these terms that I mentioned here. What do I want to protect? Name it. How bad are the consequences if I don't protect it? Who do I want to protect my things from? and how much effort can I invest into it? So yeah, just think about these cases, but I don't have time to tell everything or like just to walkly discuss them today. And now 3 things that I want to just mention, some tools, some open source decisions for you. First is about secure communication channels. Again, think about what is security. And I want to mention things that are widely discussed every time. What messengers can I use? What messengers cannot I use? We know that there are messages with default end-to-end encryption, which means that the messenger, the server doesn't know, and anyone cannot know what is exactly the message that you transfer from you to your counterpart. And these messengers are mentioned on the screen, and there are messengers with no default end-to-end encryption. And for example, the very popular messenger is Telegram, which everyone uses and which was thought sometime to be very, very secure, but it was not, because actually no end-to-end encryption by default. You can just turn it on, make a secret chat, and then it is end-to-end. All these messengers have like different pros and cons. All of them are free to use. And I want you to remember that if some messenger asks your phone number, that is not very private. You can hide it in the settings. Sometimes you cannot hide it in the settings. So if you want to be absolutely private, no registration with the phone number, and you want to have end-to-end encryption by default, probably you have to use not very popular messengers like Briar. But think again, like, is the data that you transfer now, is your message at this very moment is so essential to Protec that you will use very unpopular messenger, and that you will have to bring all your contacts to this messenger. So probably for some communication, Telegram is enough, because everyone has Telegram. For some communication, Signal or WhatsApp is enough. For some communication, you will have to use Briar, and you have to set like immediate burn the message after it was sent. So your counterpart sees the message and then it is burned, or something like this. Just think about all your scenarios, in which scenarios you transfer which data. Again, about email, I just want to tell you that please use encryption in all your mailboxes that you use. And if you use, for example, Gmail, please think about Mavelope, which adds PGP encryption to all your emails. And that means that only you and the person who you communicate with, if only you and this person know the keys, then only you and this person will be able to read the message. And yeah, I want to tell you about the Protonmail hack, which is very cool. Some other probably messengers also have this. When you send a message and you set the expiration time, and then the message is deleted after this expiration time. It is very, very useful in many situations that just you know that the person reads the message and then it is deleted. If you have to use email, then many times you will want to use this life hack. These are some like things to remember, how to protect access to any of your account. If it's possible not to use your phone number in your account, please delete it. For example, if you register with it, but if you can delete it later, please do it. Please use two-factor authentication, and I cannot stress this enough. And use an application like Google Authenticator or something. Please always use lock screen passwords. So if you leave your laptop, if you leave your cell phone and someone takes it, this is the first like barrier for someone to access your data. And always make backups. All these 4 things are crucial for you. This is how two-factor authentication protects you. A couple of days ago, one of my Telegram accounts, someone tried to hack it, and this is the message that I received. that there was an attempt to log into my account, and here was all the data about the person, which cell phone they use, where they were situated. But look at the third paragraph. Nobody gained access to my account because that person who tried to hack my account could not complete the login because I had my two-factor authentication switched on, and they couldn't hack my account because of that. That is how it happens. I just can't stress that enough, that you have to use it. But when you switch on your two-factor authentication, please remember that most of the applications give you these recovery codes, and you don't have to just throw them away. Please save them somewhere, because if you don't, and if you lose your phone, and if you lose your account, if you lose your access, if you don't have these recovery codes, all your data will be deleted. Or probably sometimes you're not against deleting your data, but if you save these recovery codes, you will not lose all your data. Here is a physical protection checklist for you. Again, I will send you this presentation and you can read into it. I strongly encourage all the people who engage in some political activists or journalistic activities to think about your physical protection, to think about whether someone can see your screen, someone can hear what you're talking about, because you never know who is around you. If someone is around you, you never know. And please pay attention to it. Just please pay attention. But again, always think about what are your risks. And about network connection, what I have to tell you is that when using public Wi-Fi, you meet lot of possibilities to your account be hacked, to your laptop be hacked, to your data is stolen. And here are some examples of the attacks. But yeah, here's a list for you that if you use public Wi-Fi and you don't know who is the administrator of this network, please remember that your browser history can be stolen. What websites you visit, someone can know when you joined the network, when you left the network, who you call, which messengers you use, and which applications, and it depends on which router is used for this public Wi-Fi. So first, protection is, if you have to use public Wi-Fi, please always use VPN service. I would strongly recommend not to use public Wi-Fi at all, and if it's able to you, if you have a smartphone with you, and if it is secure to use your smartphone, because it's not always secure, please use it as a hotspot, but protect your Wi-Fi from your phone as a hotspot with a password. And if you use public Wi-Fi, please don't share any private data, because it can be stolen, and that is serious. And I also always encourage everyone to hide your fingerprints, especially if you work with some OSINT research. If you try to find someone on social networks or anywhere, you can use browsers that hide all your fingerprints, that don't save all your fingerprints and don't give it to the websites. And here are also some add-ons to the browsers that I personally use. I love Privacy Badger, which blocks all the trackers on the website. Sometimes websites don't work because of that. I love a lot user agent switchers as add-ons because they mimic other user agent. And for example, I wanted to show you, but I don't have time, that, for example, I have my MacBook now, but for example, my browser mimics that I'm on Linux and that I use, I don't know, Firefox, but I use Chrome anyway. Like, it has lots of possibilities. And if it's able, you can, if it's able for you, if you can disable JavaScript, and then you also disable the trackers. This is important. And about file security, I want to stress out that think about the metadata of the files that you transfer. And if you think that can be a risk for you, that you transfer, for example, photos with some geolocation, please use these tools to delete all the metadata, because you know that lots of activists and lots of politicians, location, data of who created the file became known to public because they didn't delete their metadata because of metadata. That is very important. Here is some information for you. Just remember to encrypt any laptop, any phone can be encrypted. Just check if it is switched on. And I also want to tell you that a very good open source and free to use application is VeroCrypt, which not only allows you to encrypt all your files, and also remember that on Mac you can use you can not only turn on firewall for all your disk, like here on my screenshots, but you can use firewall to encrypt every file separately, and that is also very useful. But also you can use a VeroCrypt to encrypt every separate file, but check here the instruction about VeroCrypt hidden container, because you can mimic that you have like a disk of like volume X, but actually it will VeroCrypt creates a hidden part of this volume that if even someone has a password to your laptop and you give it to them, the intruders won't know that you have a encrypted part, and you can store some of your secret files there. I also saved you lots of useful links, and most of them are in English.